I don't know what's going on. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb, and it's still acting crazy. Cause yesterday I was having the same problem, and somebody was like, "Yeah, just disturb." So, cause you know these scam like these, man, they be these scam calls, man. They be making me so mad because every time I'm trying to do something, they want to call me. So please forgive me, y'all. Please forgive me. I know the conversation was just getting good. Yeah, my bad. But y'all come in, y'all drop a comment in the chat. Y'all drop a comment in the chat, man. Let me know if y'all back on all that good stuff. I put it on Do Not Disturb again, so prayerfully it worked this time. All right, I see you, Yehuda's Bakery. Yeah, sorry about that, y'all. I put it on Do Not Disturb. I put it on, you know, all that. So I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. But we just gonna keep rocking and rolling, man. Stewardship, part 2. But back to like what I know we was talking about like the water wishing and stuff like that. But yes, like it's a lot of skills. It's a lot of skills that you know you can learn as a landowner, as a homesteader, that can save you a lot of time and money. And it's just cool to know, and it's cool to teach to your children and stuff like that. Like just getting back to those life skills that we've never like that we kind of got away from, and that we never knew like you could do this type of stuff. You see what I'm saying? But again, stewardship isn't pretty. It's responsibility, but it comes with a lot of blessings. And y'all hit that like button too. It comes with a lot of blessings though. So, you know, you might feel like a lot of times you may even feel overwhelmed. You may be feeling like, man, I'm working for nothing. I'm putting in all this work for nothing. I'm having all these responsibilities, but I'm not really even seeing, you know, a return on investment all the time. You know what I'm saying? I'm not getting thank yous every day, but I'm still showing up, working hard. You know, you might feel like that sometimes, but that's just a part of the process. That's just a part of it. But this the thing though, like when you do reap results from it, the results come in abundance because you've been working every day, day in and day out, because you've been doing what needs to be done. So when things finally start producing, and you're gonna have times where things aren't producing and times where things are producing. Like let's just say you a breeder like me, and you breed dogs or you breed sheep or you breed chickens or whatever. You know, for majority of the time of the year, especially like with bigger animals, cattle, same thing, whatever. You know, they're not producing offspring like that all the time. You see what I'm saying? They probably giving birth once or twice a year. But you gotta feed them every day. You gotta clean after them every day. You gotta steward over them every day. You gotta make sure they're healthy all the time. You gotta make sure that they are well taken care of all the time. That's just a part of it. That's just a part of it. But guess what? When they do produce and reproduce, and when they do give you, it's good to have you the book Back to the Basics. It gives simple instruction, a lot of homesteading stuff. My parents used this book to help. I'm sorry. Yeah, no, that book is great. That book is definitely great. Like, you know, and I put the I want to say I put the link in my last live videos. But I'm gonna drop that link for those of you who are watching the replay. If you want that book Back to the Basics, definitely that's one of the main books I suggest. That's one of the main, and it's really like mainly 3 or 4 books that I suggest every beginner homesteader get, and that's the main one. Because like I was saying yesterday, that covers pretty much every topic that you're gonna need to know as a landowner, as a homesteader, as a farmer. It doesn't dive too deep into each subject, but it gives you just enough knowledge to the point to where you can go and research more on your own. So definitely back to the basics, back to the basics. And that's what we got to get back to, the basics. So like when I was learning about water wishing, I'm like, man, this is a basic skill that a lot of people knew. Because, you know, 70, 80, 90, 100 years ago, 100 plus years ago, you know, our ancestors, they didn't have running water, faucets and all that. They didn't have that. Water running to the house. They had wells dug. They had water filtration systems. They had rainwater collections and all that type of stuff. You know, like, but they knew how to do that. They knew how to survive. They knew how to find water. Like it was a documentary. I want to say it was on National Geographic, but it was on something like that. But anywho, it was like it was in Africa. It was a hunter, and basically he was trying to figure out where a water source was. And so what he did was, he basically was feeding, you know, this chimp or this monkey. He was feeding this something that was real salty, right? And he was feeding them that, and then basically what he did, he tied something on his hand. And once the chimp was able to get his hand free, he followed them to the water source because, you know, of course he was feeding them something that was real salty. So he gonna go and find the water. And that's how he found the water source. So it's like just coming up with different ways and survival skills to be able to provide your basic needs and necessities. You can use tree branches to filter your water. Yep, that's true. You can. You can use tree branches. Like, it's a lot of stuff you can use. And you can even buy, like, they got the filtration straws. You can buy those too. Like, where like it's already come with, in the straw, it comes with like stuff to filter the water. So like, let's just say like I go to this pond over here. I can put that straw in the pond and I can just drink through the straw and it'll filter the water out. You know what I mean? But yeah, so just different things like that, just learning. But back to what we were talking about with stewardship, right? So stewardship is responsibility. It comes with a lot, but it comes with a lot of blessings. It comes with a lot of responsibility, but it comes with a lot of blessings as well. Another thing is this too. To be a good steward, you have to put yourself on the back burner at times. You know, you have to be selfless. To be a good steward, you have to be selfless. And I know in America, in this country, we've been taught an individualistic type of mindset. A lot of us are, you know, a little bit selfish, you know, more so than people coming from other countries and cultures. A lot of other countries and stuff, their culture is more so communal. They don't think individualistic like we do over here. But when you are wanting to be a steward over something, you're gonna have to put yourself last. You're gonna have to put yourself to the back burners, your wants, your needs. You're gonna have to delay gratification. It may be something that you want, you know what I'm saying, that will make your life easier, but you really can't afford to, you know, spend that right now, because you're probably gonna have to spend that on something else, you know, for your land or for your animals. You know what I mean? You're gonna have to put yourself on the back burner sometimes. And that's just what it is. Not all the time, but just sometimes. And that can be a hard thing to do, especially coming from a place where, or a mindset where you rarely put yourself to the back burner, where it's always, man, you know, I'm gonna take care of myself first and then I'm gonna take care of X, Y, and Z. Nah, like when you homestead and you have to put your, like, you might want to sleep in, but guess what? I mean, duty calls. You got to get up and you got to get to it. It may be the middle of the night, you know what I'm saying, where you hear your dogs barking too loud, or you hear your chickens going crazy, or some of your other animals going crazy. There's some sort of commotion. There's something wrong. You have to get up out of your sleep. You have to get up out of your comfort, and you have to go see about that. You have to go handle that. And that's just what it is. You know, that's just what you're going to have to do. It's the same thing if you know, have a family. You got to put your kids before yourself a lot of times. Not all the time, but a lot of times you will. You know what I mean? Like, you might want to, you know, go and get some shoes or clothes or shop, you know, and treat yourself, but your kids need school clothes. Your kids need winter clothes. You got to put their needs before yours. They didn't ask to be here. But you're in charge of stewarding over them. Let me know if that makes sense, y'all. Let me know if that makes sense. I keep moving the camera because the sun is, you know, it's kind of like blocking the comments. I can't see. But let me know if that makes sense in the chat. Let me know. This is another point too. What you are stewarding over is a reflection of you. So your animals are a reflection of yourself. Your land is a reflection of yourself. How your land looks, how, you know, presentable it is. And that's something I had to learn. Makes sense, definitely being a parent. No, exactly. Being a parent is, you know, for those 18 years of having, and even after those 18 years, I imagine, the parenting doesn't stop. Putting yourself to the back burner sometimes doesn't stop because, you know, grown kids, you know, be needing attention too. But like, yeah, being a parent, but like, imagine, so like, you saying you want a homestead, just imagine like the responsibility that comes with being a parent, just multiply, because now you got to like really, you are a guide, you are a leader to everything. So you have to be that. So just imagine that. Imagine that. Imagine you already got 4 or 5 children, and then you say you want a flock of sheep or a flock of goats. Now, of course, you ain't gonna have to be out there with them all the time, because you know they live their own life and stuff like that. As far as with the animals, they have natural instincts. You ain't gotta be there every time they give birth. You know, especially, and that's why I teach, when you want to get started in livestock, get the best quality you can. Get the best breeds, get the best qualities, because it's certain things you don't want to have to always be there to oversee. So, like for instance, like you can go and just, you know, get, you know, some goats wherever for a good price, but they're not as high quality or a good breed. When it comes time for them to give birth, you might have to be there. When it comes time for them to nurse their children, you might have to be there because they can reject their children. And you don't want the babies to starve. So then what you got to do now, you got to bottle feed them. You see what I'm saying? Like, it was, so, because, I be on Facebook and stuff, looking up deals and stuff, buy, sell trades, even livestock pages. And so it was this person, they were selling bottle calves. Like you could buy the cow, it's a bottle fed cow, and you could buy them, but they was giving them away pretty much. Like they were selling them for next to nothing, $50, $60, $70. And so I was thinking about getting one or two, you know what I'm saying? But then I thought about it. I'm like, if I do get this, bottle cow, I can't breed them because they already have the genetics of, you know what I'm saying? Like their mother has rejected them. So if I'm getting a female, her mother has rejected her, which caused her to be a bottle calf. You know what I'm saying? And so she's going to pass that genetic trait down if I decide to breed her. So that's not smart to do. So if you're going to be getting breeding stock, you want to get animals that you don't have to always be, there on ground with them. They having babies, they know how to have the baby, they know how to clean the baby up, and they know how to nurse the baby, and they're not going to reject the baby. You see what I'm saying? But you still gonna want to be there because of course you're gonna want to, put probably tag on the ear or, little different things like that to ensure that the baby is healthy. And there'll be some times where you might need to assist, where you might have a goat giving birth to 4 babies at a time or 3 babies at a time, or a sheep giving birth to twins or triplets. And you want to make sure that they don't, suffocate one of them while they trying to give birth to the other one. Same thing with dogs. So it's like you still want to be there, but you want to have animals that pretty much know how to self-sustain, and you just have to minimally interfere. Hello goes from Mom, I need crayons, to Mom, I need help with ring. I can only imagine. I can only imagine. I be seeing, especially when I was a young adult, a lot of my peers, they would still kind of rely on their parents for some things. So that's why I say, I imagine it don't stop at 18. But for me, it did. When I was grown and on my own, I didn't ask my mama or my daddy for nothing. You know what I mean? I couldn't ask them for nothing. I was, what I'm saying? I had to make a way for myself. But again, it never stops. And that's the same thing with animals. It doesn't stop. You can raise this animal from a baby. When they babies, they have different needs. When they're lambs or goat kids, or when they're baby chicks, they have different needs. When they're baby turkeys, poults, they have different needs. They need more heat, or they need, bedding, or they need this special type of feed, or they need X, Y, and Z. But as they grow, they don't need as much or the same things, but they still do need things like protection, like food, like if you're gonna vaccinate them, or just certain health things that prevent disease and stuff like that. They're still gonna have needs. The needs are just gonna be different. So it's just like you're still gonna be stewarding, but the goal is to get it to the point to where you don't have to steward as much as you once did. But whatever you're stewarding is a reflection of yourself. Whatever you're stewarding. So, you've been praying for this vehicle, for this car, right? And you finally got a brand new car. How you take care of that car and how you steward over that car is a reflection of you. If you allow this car to be junky, dirty, the seats peeling, the tires is bald on it, you ain't never got no gas in it, that's a reflection of yourself. People look at that and say, man, if his car looked like that, if her car looked like that, I wonder what her house looked like. And look, I'm not talking about people because I was like that. Like, had my car junky, you know what I'm saying? Ain't really get the oil change when I needed to, like, ain't keep it washed and stuff like that. But as I got older and I got more mature and I started being a better steward, I start, you know what I'm saying? Looking at those things as a reflection of me, and I start taking better care of those things. But that's how it is when you're homesteading, when you are a landowner, how your land looks, you know what I'm saying? And look, I ain't saying it's got to be perfectly manicured and all that stuff. I ain't saying that. But what I'm saying is how it looks. If you just got stuff everywhere and your tools out, and look, I'm talking to myself because I had to really come to terms with a lot of this stuff. Like, I had to come to terms with, like, man, it's a reflection of me. When people pull up, they see this, they look at me. Now, I'm not saying, because look, you got kids, of course, you probably gonna have bicycles around, you probably gonna have little stuff around, that's fine. But, making sure that it's presentable. The grass ain't like up to your knees, and, everything is just everywhere. And like, make sure you have a good system. Make sure that you are taking care of your land, you're stewarding your land, making sure your animals, if they need their hooves trimmed, like I can remember going and buying like animals or goats and stuff, and then you might see, man, a lot of these goats, man, they hooves is long. That means he ain't really trimming their hooves like that. He feeding them too much grain. That's somebody that you don't want to buy livestock from. That livestock is a reflection of him or her. You see what I'm saying? So if you got livestock, make sure they're presentable. Make sure, you know, you trimming their hooves. Make sure they're healthy. You know, they not heavy worms and all this type of stuff. Looking frail because you're not feeding them good. If you can't afford to feed a flock of 10, you might need to downsize to 5. Because at least you can feed that 5 and they can be thriving and be healthy. You see what I'm saying? So it's just like stuff like that. But it's a reflection of you. It's a reflection of you 100%. And people might not say it, but they're gonna think it. So it's like, you know, whether you wanna sell things, get into selling different livestock or animals or products from your farm. If people come and you, like, say you selling eggs, and they come and they see your chicken coop, or they see your chickens and stuff, and you know the chickens barely got space and they packed up in there, and you just producing a lot of eggs, but the chickens are in a stressful environment. People look at stuff like that and they say, man, I don't know if I want to buy from them no more. Them conditions that them chickens living in ain't really good. You see what I'm saying? The conditions that those animals are living in ain't really good. So I don't know if I want to buy from this person. Just taking the extra steps and the extra time to make sure that everything is presentable, that everything is being stewarded over correctly. Man, y'all talk back to me now. Y'all talk back to me. I know how many people we got on here, 7. Y'all talk back to me. Let me know if I'm making sense or if I'm just rambling. Let me know. Let me know. But it's a reflection of you. Your kids are a reflection of you. If your kids got bad attitudes, you know what I'm saying, they disrespectful to adults. Your kids, they go places and they can't keep their hands to themselves, and you know what I'm saying? Like, that's a reflection of you. That means that you tolerate this. That means that they learned this from you. Like, there's no such thing as a perfect parent who done everything right and then the child still is, you know what I'm saying? Like, don't get me wrong. You have children who may have been raised right and they still go out in the streets and stuff, like, because you see that typical rich kids and want to go out and be thugs and this, that, and the third. But still, that means that somewhere their parent was lacking in something. They might have provided them a good lifestyle, but they didn't give them attention. They didn't pour a foundation into them. They just relied on money to raise their children. That's why I say, like, you know, your children are a reflection of you. So yeah, you might not be violent, but your child is violent. That means you've tolerated your child being violent. That means you've let your child learn this from somewhere and you didn't correct it. So your children are a reflection of you. Gotta go, fam. See y'all later. Okay, appreciate you, Zion. See you later, fam. See you later. But yeah, man, it's a reflection of you. Whatever you steward over is gonna be a reflection of you. And I got one more point. And this is just simple. My last point is this. To be a good homesteader, you gotta be a good steward. So if you watching this and you may have just bought land, or you wanna buy land in the future and you wanna be a homesteader, understand stewardship first. If you want to put the horse before the cart, learn stewardship first. So start stewarding over what you have right now. Start becoming a great steward over your apartment. Start being a great steward over your townhouse. If you got a standard size yard in a single family home, making sure you're stewarding over that, making sure your house, you know what I'm saying, you on top of the repairs that it needs, and you know, all the maintenance that your house requires, your HVAC system, your yard being cut, the landscaping, you know, your tools are put up and your house is clean. Like, start stewarding over what you have. Even if it's just a little bit. Even if it's just small. You see what I'm saying? Because when you can be trusted with something small, and when you can be trusted over a few, then you can be trusted with a lot. You know, God will see fit to trust you with a lot. He'll see fit to grow you. He'll see fit to bless you with that land that you want and that homestead that you want. When he see you stewarding over your room. You might even have an apartment to yourself. You might just have a roommate. Making sure your room clean, your stuff is organized, your stuff is put up. You know what I'm saying? People come and they see your room and it's always smelling good, it's always clean. They see your car is clean, it's washed, is this, is that, and keeping up with yourself. You see what I'm saying? Like, it starts with the basics of things. A lot of times we just think it starts when we get on the land. No, it starts well. Appreciate that. Yeah, so you planning, wanting a homestead, have no idea where to start. I preach this all the time. Start where you at. I don't know. Like I say, if you have a standard sized backyard, maybe start a little garden back there. Maybe keep some little chickens back there. Just start where you at. But I would mainly say start with the stewardship aspect, you know, and just start stewarding over what you have right now. And then, you know, you can grow. You can grow from that. That way, when you get the land and you buy the land and you buy the homestead, whether it's an acre, 5, 10, whatever, then you have the basic fundamentals down pat. Focus on fundamentals, because fundamentals are universal. Stewardship is universal. It's not just homesteading. It's every area of life. So when you are a good steward, you're going to be a good homesteader. When you are a good steward, you're going to be a good business owner. When you're a good steward, you're going to be, you know, a good employee or a good manager. You see what I'm saying? But start with the fundamentals. The fundamentals are universal. And when you have those fundamentals, when you get whatever it is that you do, homesteading, farming, business, entrepreneurship, you're going to be good at it because you have the basics down pat. That's putting the horse before the cart. You don't just magically learn how to farm and learn how to be a good steward. What's going on, G Mama? You don't just magically learn how to do that when you get the land. A lot of people think the land is going to motivate them to do it. The animals is going to motivate me to do it. The self-sufficiency is going to motivate me to do it. No, the principles that you have in you is what you're going to have to rely on and fall back on when you're no longer motivated, because motivation wears out. When motivation wears out, you rely on your habits and your fundamentals and your core beliefs. That's what you fall back to, your habits. You're only as good as your habits. You're only as good as your principles. You're only as good as the fundamentals that you have embedded inside of yourself. Appreciate that, G Mama. It's just like, and I'm gonna end it off with this. It's just like, was it Mr. Miyagi? Wax on, wax off. Wax on, wax off. That's learning stewardship. Wax on. You may think, what does cleaning my room or cleaning my car have to do with being a good farmer, providing my own food, being self-sufficient? What does that have to do with it? It's wax on, wax off. Just like, what does me waxing this car, waxing it on and waxing it off, what does this have to do with karate? What does this have to do with me fighting? Man, I'm getting beat up. I'm getting bullied. You see what I'm saying? I need to learn how to fight. You got me out here wax on, wax off. But guess what? When you get in that arena, when it's time to fight, and when that punch being thrown at you, you know, when you might have taken some blows and that punch being thrown at you, then you can rely back on your training. You can rely back on your fundamentals, and then you can wax on, wax off. And it just come natural to you because you've been doing it for so long. It's like second nature. You don't even have to think about it. It's just there. It's just there. It's the same thing with homesteading and farming. When you naturally stewarding over the small things and stewarding over the things in your life, when you get the land, you're going to naturally keep it clean. You're going to naturally keep it beautiful and presentable. You're going to naturally make sure your animals are eating good and taken care of and healthy and up to date on their vaccinations and their shots and their dewormers, and you know what I'm saying? Everything going to be organized. You ain't going to have to be looking for everything because you dropped this tool right here when you was done working and you said, I'll pick it up tomorrow. You ain't doing that. You making sure your stuff is charged up, it's ready to go. You making sure your stuff is maintained. So, okay, in the wintertime, I know I'm not going to be using this zero turn or this riding lawnmower or this heavy machinery, but at least I'm going to crank it up once a week or once a month to make sure that the gas don't go bad in it, to make sure that, you know, I can run it for a little while to keep the engine going and keep the engine used to, you see what I'm saying, being in motion. It's just stuff like that because you've been used to what? Stewarding over what you have. That's all it is. That's all it is. And like I say, man, when I be speaking on a lot of these subjects, I really be speaking to myself. Like, this is stuff that I've had to learn that I'm teaching y'all because YouTube, man, well, social media in general, I ain't just gonna specify the YouTube, but social media in general is full of a lot of made up, aesthetically pleasing. There's no bad, no transparency. There's no downsides or, you know, just hard. it only shows the good for the most part. You got, got a few creators who show you the real behind the scenes and what's really going on, but and what they are going through. Because a lot of times you don't really want to tell people what you're going through. Like, hey, yeah, this is what's going on the farm. Like, man, I can sit here and admit, and this is just me personally, I ain't always been a good steward. You see what I'm saying? Like, I'm the type of person where I can handle a lot of responsibility, but it's like when I get to, like, it's a thin line between just enough and too much. And sometimes I cross that thin line and I got too much all of a sudden. Like, I can remember, right, when I first got out of the when I first got off active duty. I was working a full-time job. I was in the Army Reserve. I was building a business, and I was going to school getting my bachelor's degree. And I had 2 kids. You see what I'm saying? and I was working in the church. You know what I'm saying? Working the soundboard. Like, I was doing all these things at once. So I was able to, I had the capacity to do it, but at a certain point, it got to be too much. You see what I'm saying? And so when things get to be too much, your stewardship tends to slip because you're overwhelmed. And that's why as I'm getting older and maturing, I'm realizing, hey, you can't take on everything. You can't put too much on your plate. You can't do too much things too soon. So, yes, I haven't always been a good steward, but guess what? As I matured, I started becoming a better steward because I started learning, like, hey, man, it's okay. Take your time. You know what I mean? Just knock this out today, and then tomorrow you can get that. Just stuff like that, man. Just stuff like that. But I hope that made sense. Man. Y'all tap that like button too. And yeah, unless y'all got anything, man, I ain't got nothing else. I just want to remind y'all that, like, for those of you who want to get into homesteading, who want to live this lifestyle, who want to be self-sufficient, off-grid, garden, farming, all that good stuff, stewardship is where it starts. Well, of course, it starts with your why and your purpose, but stewardship is one of those things that needs to be implemented into your foundation. And those are one of like, a lot of people think, man, I need a specific step to start. No, you just need the principle. You just need the principle of what you're going to need to be successful in whatever endeavor it is that you're doing. Once you start doing the principle, when the specific step comes, as far as well, this is how you can buy that land and this is how you can do that, you already got the fundamentals in. Yeah, but I'm gonna let y'all go. I keep cutting in and out. I don't know what that's about, but I'm gonna let y'all go, man. Hopefully y'all enjoyed this live. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe. You know what I'm saying? And I'll see y'all on the next one.